we've had other trends in the past where various departments are at risk because of it, right? So when growth teams first became a thing over a decade ago, and then like product-led growth became a thing 4 or 5 years ago, there's always this question of like, well, is that going to supplant marketing, right? And Scott and Daryl, you both, I think, experienced this firsthand. And so I do think adaptation is going to be required here, because otherwise, I think people who are more able to use these tools, whether I sometimes joke that like the data team, the data science team, the data analytics team who embraces AI and embraces like activation and trying to own the customer experience as opposed to just reporting, has a chance at eating into kind of marketing ops potentially, right? But I don't want that to happen, but I do think it's an interesting dynamic that you're calling out internally at companies. um Anytime. So my view is like, it has never been harder to predict the future. There you go. That's the first answer. Like,
yeah, thanks for setting us up, Phil.
yeah, no, but I say this in the form of like unbelievable excitement. Like,
Yeah.
I have never felt both, I don't know, old and young at the same time. Like, I have 2 degrees in computer science, and I'm like, this stuff is like, I'm unable to see how it's going to move month over month. Like, that is both like personally like frustrating, and kind of unbelievable and awesome. And so I don't think we know. We don't know what GPT-5 is going to be like. We don't know what GPT-6 is going to be like. The pace at which engineers are just playing with this is the amount of play that humans are doing with it is so high. By the way, I've had a request out to the internet for the last week or two because I'm going to go see my parents in a couple of weeks, and it's like, they know about it because it's in the news, but how do I demo it to them so that it really blows their minds? It's something that's like, they're a very tough customer. But I do think I'm going to double down on the thing I said earlier, which I actually think the difference here, Daryl, you said we tend to talk about the technology here as opposed to the business. I actually think the most unusual aspect of AI is that it popped into consumer. It actually, ChatGPT is weird, right? It was never expected. It was a tech demo they built in 8 days on top of GPT-3, right? They didn't expect it to become this consumer phenomenon. And I think that is probably the most interesting transformation that's going to occur, is the consumer is going to change the same way the smartphone changed them. Like, AI is a consumer product now, which is completely different than anything we had planned. And so if it was just like a new capability, the way like the cloud data warehouse is a new capability, then I think it's within our realm to just product. And you're right, it'd be kind of divorced from the end user. But I actually think the most interesting thing this year will be whether users start to expect this as a user experience in their products, in their interactions with companies. I don't know if that will be the case, by the way, but I do think that could be a big change in how this in how we all operate if the consumer changes their expectations. And then it becomes then just about like, you have to develop expertise in it, and there's going to be a tension between adopting this as fast as humanly possible if the consumer starts to say, I expect it, and trust in the data. And going back to Daryl's original point of view, which is like, or statement, which is totally true, which is like, how do you give people, if you're going to run your own data through an AI system, like, you better give it the right data. You don't want to hallucinate from the wrong starting point. You want to start at least from the correct part. So I do think like that's going to be the tension of 2024, especially if the consumer starts to expect acceleration here.